Hello, 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 good people. This is your guide, your educator, your communicator, your free thinker, coming back at you again from the Lone Star State. We are live, and we're going to be talking about the service members saying no to the COVID-19 vaccine. This is a hot topic. This is a hot topic. Our brave men and women of our United States Armed Forces are having doubt about the COVID-19 vaccine. This comes to us from the Associated Press out of Washington. And it reads, by the thousands, U.S. service members are refusing or putting off the COVID-19 vaccine as frustrated commanders scramble to knock down internet rumors and find the right pitch that will persuade troops to get the shot. Now, good people, let me share something with you. If you have not seen a few of my other videos, I am a veteran. I served in our nation's armed forces, 2 branches, by the way, 3 in the Army and 12 in the Air Force, 15 total. So I do understand how these troops feel. Because if you may or may not know, the armed forces usually get a lot of things first before it rolls out into the civilian sector. So they know before you know. And this is very interesting to me because they know something. And I would say the Pentagon or who's ever in charge here don't want people to know, but you can't hide that from the troops. It's very hard to do to a certain degree because a lot of them have clearances. You have secret, and you have top secret. So I have a secret clearance, still active to this day. So these are things that you're privy to. So anyway, let's continue. Some Army units are seeing as few as 1/3 agree to the vaccine, and military leaders searching for answers believe they have identified one potential convincer, an imminent deployment. That is true. I talked about this in one of my other videos because you do have to get your shots, especially depending on where you're going. If you're stateside, no worries. But if you're going overseas across that ocean, whether it's be the Atlantic or the Pacific, you will get those shots. Now you see here, what's disturbing to me is that they're saying here's the potential convincer, an imminent deployment. Deploy them where, sir? Just make up somewhere for them to go? Now these are the things that make you go, So let's continue. Navy sailors on ships heading out to sea last week, for example, were choosing to take the shot at rates exceeding 80% to 90%. You know why? I bet you know why? Because a deployment brings in income. A deployment is guaranteed money. Extra money. Now, my little brother has served in the Navy. I do know they get what I think it's sea duty probably pay and all of that other stuff probably added onto it. So these are things that, and I have friends that served in the Navy, so you have a lot of extra perks here. Yeah, and you throw money at a lot of people, yeah. They, especially those with families. Especially those that look, hey, I can get ahead, of course. Because the per diem, doesn't tell them how much the per diem is. For those of you who may not know what per diem is, that is set aside funds for rations and things that you could, but you may not even use that. Because when I served, this is back in 01, we're talking about our per diem was what, $35 a day while I was stationed overseas in Turkey. So you're talking $35 a day times 30. That's extra money. That's not your base pay. That's not your hostile fire pay. That's not your combat zone pay. That's not your family separation pay. See, all that's extra. So first to 15, you get your pay with all the other incentives added on to what I just said, but the $35 a day we were getting times 30, that was extra. Now, per diem is, from my understanding today, is as high as $80 or $100 per day, maybe even more. That's separate money. So anyway, enough of that on my going off on my little diatribe here. So let's continue. Air Force Major General Jeff Taliaferro, Vice Director of Operations for the Joint Staff, told Congress on Wednesday that very early data suggests that that just up to 2/3 of the service members offered the vaccine have accepted. The military's resistance also comes as troops are deploying to administer shots at vaccination centers around the country and as leaders look to American forces to set an example for the nation. This is a different group of young people here. They have access to more information than we ever had back in the day. Now, the quote here, we're still struggling with what is the messaging and how do we influence people to opt in for the vaccine, said Brigadier General Edward Bailey, the surgeon for Army Forces Command. He said that in some units, just 30% have agreed to take the vaccine, while others are between 50% and 70%. Forces Command oversees major Army units, encompassing about 750,000 Army Reserve and National Guard soldiers at 15 bases. Well, that's actually post, actually. So I don't know why they call everything a base. So bases are Air Force and Marines and Navy. Armies have forts, so they call posts, but it's all interchangeably, I guess. So anyway, for weeks the Pentagon insisted it did not know how many troops were declining the vaccine. On Wednesday, they provided the few details on their data. Officials from individual military services, however, said in interviews with the Associated Press that refusal rates vary widely depending on the service member's age, unit, location, deployment, status, and other intangibles. The variations make it harder for leaders to identify which arguments for the vaccine are most persuasive. The Food and Drug Administration has allowed emergency use of the vaccine, so it's voluntary. I talked about that in another video. It's voluntary. But Defense Department officials say they hope that soon may change. The armed forces is the government, a big part of the government, people. You need to understand that. They are federal. This is what they're pushing. We cannot make it mandatory yet. Vice Admiral Andrew Lewis, commander of the Navy's 2nd Fleet, said last week. Listen, people, we cannot make it mandatory yet. He goes on to quote, I can tell you we're probably going to make it mandatory as soon as we can, just like we do with the flu vaccine. We're talking the military here because you have to have your flu shot if you're in. That's mandatory. So they're pushing it. The officer said one Marine, citing a widely circulated and false conspiracy theory, said they're using the word false here. I heard that this thing is actually a tracking device. I talked about that in another video. Nanobites. The medical staff said the officer quickly debunked that theory, which is what officers are supposed to do, and pointed to the Marine's cell phone, noting that it's an effective tracker. Yeah, but you can throw your cell phone away, sir. You can discard of your cell phone, sir. If this is true, what this young Marine is saying, then once you get in your bloodstream, it is there forever. They can track you wherever you go. So that was a weak argument, which this officer just told this young Marine. Oh, yeah, your cell phone's a tracking device. But I can get rid of this, though. Then what? Oh, well. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Other frequent questions revolved around possible side effects for or health concerns, including for pregnant women. Army, Navy, and Air Force officials say they hear much the same. Women have said that this is getting leaked somewhere. I don't know, but it is. At the Joint Readiness Center at Fort Polk, Brigadier General David Doyle has a dual challenge. As base commander, he must persuade the nearly 7,500 soldiers on base, to get the shot, and he needs to ensure that the thousands of troops that cycle in and out for training exercises are safe. Doyle said the acceptance rate on his base is between 30% and 40%, and that most often it's the younger troops who decline. Yes, because they have more access to the information. It's the old head who's been conditioned, like myself if I was still in. So the young people are going to be aware. And that's interesting, though, to find that the young people are the most woke. Now, let's continue. They tell me that they don't have high confidence in the vaccine because they believe it was done too quickly. These young people are smart. He said top health officials have attested to the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine. I told you it was done real quick. The FDA, it takes 3 to 5 years to approve a drug. Anyway, let's continue here. Let's close out. We're trying to figure out who the influencers are, Bailey said. Is it a squad leader or platoon sergeant in the Army? I think it is probably someone who is more of their age and interacts with them more on a regular basis versus the general's officer who takes his picture and says, "I got the shot," which is true. I have to agree. But you're not going to probably be able to find out because if they have access to the internet, you don't know who's who. It's so much information out there that gets leaked. Now, I don't know about you good people. I don't know. But our men and women of the U.S. Armed Forces have a right to be worried because it seems they really rolled out this vaccine in a hurry. You see, the military lives by the old hurry up and wait. Now it seems that all they want is for you to do is take. Well, how far this goes remains to be seen. But one thing is for sure, they are a long way from convincing a lot of these soldiers from taking the vaccine. All right, good people, sad to say, but that's it for today. And remember, if you have or had a bad day, let's just hope for those brave men and women of our nation's armed forces who have doubt that it's going to be okay. This is your guy, your educator, your communicator, your free thinker. Subscribe, share, and like so that I can keep rocking on the mic. Stay safe and have a good night.